In a shocking turn of events, China has deployed warships in the Middle East. This comes after the Chinese embassy in Israel issued a safety alert as a result of Chinese men being killed in the Israel and Palestine conflict. Events which resulted in significant casualties within the country have sent shockwaves to the rest of the world, and have caused the Chinese military to react, from an order by the President, Xi Jinping. Chinese military online reports that the guided missile destroyer Zibo, guided missile frigate Jingzhou, and comprehensive replenishment ship Qiandaihua, comprising the 44th Chinese Naval Escort Task Group, arrived in Shuwaikh Port, Kuwait. The guided missile destroyer Zibo is a 7,500-ton, Type 052DL destroyer. The Liberation Army Navy of the Chinese people is home to guided missile destroyers of the Type 052D. It features a flat-paneled active electronically scanned array radar and a canister-type vertical launching system in place of a revolver-type system. China's first multi-role destroyer, this kind is not restricted to surface-air missiles thanks to the innovative launching system. This destroyer was built in February 2012, and has been active ever since. China is continuously working to modernize and strengthen its naval power, and these destroyers are a part of that endeavor. Among the plan's fleet's most potent and sophisticated destroyers is the Type 052D. The destroyer is outfitted with a range of weaponry, such as naval guns, torpedoes, land attack cruise missiles, vertically launched anti-aircraft missiles, and anti-ship missiles. Numerous vertical launch system, VLS, cells on the Type 052D are utilized to launch a variety of missiles. This comprises land attack cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, and air defense missiles. The HHQ-9 long-range surface-to-air missile system is one of the destroyer's cutting-edge air defense systems. As a result, the ship is equipped to repel airborne threats like missiles and aeroplanes. Long-range strike capabilities are provided by the destroyer's YJ-18 and CJ-10 land attack cruise missile armament. It also has anti-ship missiles for hitting targets on the surface, like the YJ-83 and YJ-12. The Type 052D is outfitted with anti-submarine warfare weapons, such as torpedoes and ASW helicopters, to fight underwater threats. The destroyer is outfitted with cutting-edge radar technologies, such as phased array radars, to improve tracking and situational awareness. Stealth elements are incorporated into the Type 052D's design to lower its radar cross-section and increase its durability in contemporary naval situations. Combining gas turbines and diesel engines gives the destroyer a balanced mixture of speed and efficiency for a longer operational range. Because of its ability to function in both blue water and regional situations, the Type 052D can support a range of naval operations. China has three goals in the middle of the current Middle East crisis. Beijing aspires to seem as a responsible major power, wants to see some sort of peace in the Middle East, and expects that the Israel-Hamas conflict would end. However, it is highly unlikely that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, will take any action to support a ceasefire in Gaza or contribute significantly to Middle East peace. Despite failing to meet the first two aims, the CCP is in an excellent position to pursue its third goal, which is to improve its standing among the Chinese people, the Arab Street, and the Global South. With the exception of its initial response, which many deem tone-deaf, Beijing has released a flurry of official announcements since the start of the present confrontation between Israel and Hamas, most of which sound reasonable. These pronouncements have called for calm and have urged both sides to exhibit caution. These Chinese remarks essentially amount to meaningless platitudes, even though they may not always be dishonest rhetoric. Beijing is interested in a Middle East that is calm and stable because it stands to lose a great deal economically if the crisis worsens and lasts longer. This includes disruptions to international shipping lanes and petroleum supplies. Though CCP officials and spokesmen can say all the right things and mean it, Beijing is not in a position to implement meaningful changes because of two factors: a severe fear of taking on new risks and a lack of actual power. The truth is that, outside of China's own Asia-Pacific neighborhood, Beijing is essentially a great power light in the Middle East and beyond. Beijing's risk aversion stems from CCP leaders' fears of failing and overreaching globally. First, although Beijing is without a doubt the global heavyweight champion in terms of economic power, China is still a light to middleweight competitor when it comes to diplomacy and a featherweight pretender when it comes to the military. Conditions are not static, of course. China's military is undoubtedly becoming more powerful and proficient every day. China can, however, only very modestly spread diplomatic and military might throughout the Middle East. An analogy with U.S. initiatives demonstrates the glaring difference in the resources that Washington and Beijing can provide to the current problem. In the meantime, China was able to temporarily assemble 6 naval vessels in the Gulf of Aden last week, while the United States promptly sent 2 formidable aircraft carrier strike groups into the eastern Mediterranean. Due to the fact that the crisis erupted simultaneously with the transfer of power from one anti-piracy 3-ship task force to another, China's overall naval presence will soon be cut in half. Despite all the hoopla around China's rapidly expanding aircraft carrier program, none of the country's 3 commissioned carriers have made a transoceanic voyage. Furthermore, Beijing is unable to project any meaningful land power or air power into the Middle East. Although a small number of Chinese Marines are stationed at Beijing's first official overseas military base in Djibouti, which is located on the Red Sea coast, they have not yet been used for any purpose other than serving on Chinese naval ships that are engaged in counter-piracy operations in the Gulf of Aden. Additionally, compared to earlier times, Beijing's leaders and diplomats are more involved and active in international affairs. Chinese diplomats are active practically everywhere, and CCP leaders have been around the world for the past few decades, flying hundreds of thousands of miles. The United States, France, Japan, and the United Kingdom are all supposedly behind China in the number of diplomatic outposts. It has 275 compared to all other major powers. However, China has not sought to do much more than advance its economic interests or defend its basic interests, which is why Beijing's diplomatic clout in the Middle East has been limited. In order to achieve this, Beijing has made an effort to keep friendly links with all parties in the region, and unlike other foreign capitals, it has been exceptionally effective in doing so, at least until the current crisis. China, for instance, has enjoyed cordial ties with Israel and the Palestinians, as well as with Saudi Arabia and Iran. China sometimes presents its role as a mediator in the normalization of Saudi-Iranian relations earlier this year, especially by China itself, as proof of its expanding diplomatic power and/or influence in the Middle East. In actuality, China's contribution was significant, but it was also a very simple lift for Beijing with minimal risk of failure. Beijing took advantage of the opportunity, which included very little risk. Biden had originally planned to visit Jordan as well as Israel in order to meet with 3 Arab leaders. However, this in-person meeting was called off in the wake of the explosion at the Al-Ali hospital. China's president stayed in China, hosting Russian tyrant Vladimir Putin at a Belt and Road meeting and meticulously avoiding any public reference of the Israel-Hamas conflict, while the head of state of the United States boldly traveled to the center of the storm. Although Foreign Minister Wang Yi has expressed his opinions in public, Wang has also refrained from visiting the area. Zai Jun, China's envoy to the Middle East, is the one remaining to represent China there. Zai has traveled to the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, and Qatar thus far. However, rather than making a sincere attempt at mediation, his gesture towards Middle East shuttle diplomacy is primarily aimed at stabilizing China's bilateral ties in the Arab world. Beijing also wants to establish itself as the global South's defender and offer a more appealing and different image of the world order than the one headed by the United States. Recently established Chinese projects such as the Global Security Initiative, the Global Development Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative primarily target the poor countries. Beijing seeks to set itself apart as a genuinely non-Western voice by breaking from American and European policies and rhetoric. The CCP's efforts to promote its talking points, position papers, and diplomatic endeavors often find resonance in many global South countries. The communist leaders of China are masters of propaganda. But, If the CCP determines that a course of action is in its best interests, it can also be a powerful doer and deploy large resources. Although it has occasionally happened in the past, China is presently ill-prepared and hesitant to take the lead in the Middle East. Beijing has determined that there is no benefit and only risk to such a move. In other words, Chinese authorities are happy to talk the talk but totally unwilling to walk the walk when it comes to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Thank you for watching till the end. Please like, comment and subscribe and make sure the notification bell is turned on so you never miss a video. See you next time.